Major Rose, I'm the chair of the Burlington Development Review Board. We have a quorum, and I'll call today December 17 meeting to order. We will go through the items on our agenda in the order in which they appear. A couple matters up for public hearing, and the first one is 1835 North Avenue, Ward 4. I do not want to mispronounce the applicant's names. I understand this is an appeal of administrative approval by a budding landowner, Ms. Mills. So I think that'd be you. Is the underlying applicant here? That you? Okay. So typically in a actually, let me do this first. Could you both raise your right hands? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct and contains the penalties of perjury? So since this is an appeal of an administrative approval, I think we want to ask the appellant staff, the appellant, Jeff, what do you think on this one, considering it's not the appeal of the denial? Who do you want to go first? The appellant? All right, why don't you come up and tell us why this wasn't properly, sorry.
This is a copy of the minutes, and it's just a couple of pictures, it's in the appeal, but.
Okay. Yeah, we do have it online. Yeah.
Scott. Thank you to the Developmental Review Board for the opportunity to speak with you tonight and for your time considering my appeal. My name is Alina Mills and I have owned my home at 1841 North Avenue since 2004. I would like to address 3 key points: the background of the issue, my concerns regarding the fence, and my request. A little background. The permit applicant began renting a property next door 7 years ago, and we maintained a good relationship until July 2024. In that month, the applicant began operating an unpermitted commercial meat smoking business in the backyard. The operation used large commercial smokers that produce smoke for 6 to 7 hours a day, 2 to 3 days a week. And since our houses are close together, the smoke blew into my home, affected my health, triggering asthma, allergies, headaches, chest pain, and facial swelling. I filed a complaint with the city at the end of July 2024. And on that day, the applicant and the property owner stated that they would build a fence. In late August, the city spoke with the applicant about the meat smoking, and he withdrew his home occupancy application for business, stating he would go elsewhere. Some concerns I have about the fence. On August 28th, the applicant was granted a permit for a 6-foot fence. However, during the appeal period in the original permit application, the applicant asked to increase the fence height by 2 feet and make modifications to the design, and the zoning board required the applicant to apply for a new permit, which is right. While the fence was being constructed, the applicant installed the unfinished side panels and posts facing my property, and the city instructed him to comply with the permit conditions to provide a finished side to the neighbor, and he reversed the panels. That is how the posts were left on the outside. Additionally, there were 4 posts near the meat smokers that were installed at 10.5 feet in height, and these posts weeks later were reduced to 8 feet. In my view, either of these heights is excessive. So I'm asking the DRB to reverse the zoning decision to allow an extension of the 6-foot fence to 8 feet. And here are my reasons why. Excessive height. An 8-foot fence wall is nearly as high as the roof eaves of my house, a single-story home, which is out of scale for the new North End neighborhood. Aesthetic concerns. The fence wall has an unbalanced design with a mismatched top and bottom, which is incompatible with the neighborhood's character. Impact on sunlight and shadows. The 8-foot fence wall blocks the southern sunlight, creating dark shadows across much of my yard and affecting my plants and vegetation. And I did put an image in there. It's in the appeal of that. Neighborhood standards, there are over 75 fences between residences within 2 miles of our homes on North Avenue, and none of them exceed 6 feet in height. Obstruction of visibility, there's been an approval for 10 feet additional into the front plane at 8 feet, and a fence higher than 3 to 4 feet in the front yard would obstruct visibility from my home and disrupt the continuity of green space along the street and the sidewalk. It would also darken the interior of my home. Proximity, this high structure is only 6 feet from my house at its closest point, and property value impact. The fence negatively affects the aesthetic appeal and value of my property. And finally, I am concerned the fence will be used as a justification for resuming the commercial meat smoking operation next door. Thank you for your time and consideration. I was very fast. I was a little nervous.
That's okay. I understand. So one of the things I just want to make sure I understand is it the height to 8 feet, or is it the staff report reflects discussion of whether the finished side is appropriately placed to your lot?
The original permit was 6 feet, then there was a second permit to go to the 8 feet. And posts on the outside aren't as big of a concern to me. It's a concern, but the 8 feet height is the main concern. That's, although it was in the appeal period, that has already been built.
So when we look at a photo, Scott, you mentioned it's 12, 16, 24, fence backside. Are we looking at it from Ms. Mills' property or from the applicant?
The one I just posted, the most recent one, that is from.
Yeah.
Hurricanes.
This that you gave us with the tree is from your property.
Yeah, that's inside, that's on inside, and that is on
You're
the
standing
outside.
in your yard.
Yes, yes.
Questions from folks? Scott, do we have a fence height limitation aside from your triangle?
In this district, there is not an express fence height limit. However, insofar as fences are structures accessory to primary use, basically say they're limited to 15 feet. This is weird.
In other districts, there are height limitations.
Yeah, in the downtown there are.
Yeah, I think they're on like the north house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the occurrence of, I think, perhaps every other or most other places within dealing with are 6 feet, we would chalk up to coincidence and aesthetics. There was no previous like.
There's no limit to 6 feet tall. The fence height limit is the clear sight triangle.
Scott, it looks like the fence that was installed is different than the fence that was included in the application. Is that an issue? The image that was included, looked like it was included in the application, was just a standard fence with a cut top. This image that's provided of a Lowe's fence, is that in the application itself?
I'm looking at zoning permits. And that looks like.
That looks like the section.
Yeah.
Page 2 through. Yeah, I'm trying to, what is that photo from? What is that from? Is that the October application?
No, what's included in the board's packet is what got approved. That's under appeal presently.
This, I did see that. There was a picture of it. Oh, I see. It's just, it's in the initial, so that's the initial August application with the 6-foot fence in the North Ave 1835 appeal. There's a screenshot of the original permit, which has, okay. So the picture from Lowe's is for the original permit application in August. The updated permit application has the drawing of the,
It's got a picture of the actual fence, because it's already built. Right.
So Scott, there are no dimensional limitations for this or low intensity zone. Could they put a 15-foot fence there if they want?
I think they could go up to 15 feet. Yeah.
Um,
They're meeting, right?
I haven't seen the schedule since. So. But I'll add it.
Sir, do you wanna add to this discussion? You want to comment at all? You have every
Yeah.
right to.
Well, I just wanna put the fence up for my future tenant privacy.
Okay.
Stay within the limit. We don't want 8 feet. There's no limit. 15 feet, I mean, I could go up more on that 5, but 8 feet should be good enough. For the privacy. The neighbor has a higher deck, so if you stand on there, they might see over the tenant privacy. So that's why we go up another 2 feet.
And do you live there? Were you the one who made smoking business or was that a tenant?
It's a tenant, he don't have a business running there. He cook sometime for the homeless. But I mean, everybody enjoy the summer and have barbecue and stuff, so I don't see any wrongful there.
Whatever has gone on there, it's not really part of this.
Yeah, so it's not.
This is, you know, fence permit is not a home occupation. So. Any more questions from the board? Anything else we need before we deliberate on this?
I just ask one follow-up there. You submitted some fence examples there, was that your submission? There were some photos provided of it. North Ave.
I provided those,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry, Scott, okay.
I provided those simply as reference of fence styles where you could see the fence post on one or both sides of it.
Okay.
Do you mind if I say something, please?
Yeah, by all
The
means.
reason why I did the backstory about that was, Johnny is a skilled builder. I mean, he knows how to build a fence, and the reason why the posts are on my side is not because it was a fence designed to have the posts in the middle where you're looking from both sides and you can see the posts. It was, the posts are on the outside because originally he put, well, you can't see it here, but he put the unfinished side towards my property and had the smooth side on his side. And when the city said that, you know, that's part of the requirements are you can't do that, he flipped the panels, but the posts were still on the outside. He didn't flip the panels and put them on the other side, so. But really, the only reason why the posts are on my side is because he had originally put the wrong side facing my property. And the city was on top of all of that.
Anybody else? Right, we'll move right on this, let's close the public hearing on this item, thank you. The next one is 365 South Winooski Avenue. Winooski Creek Builders and Honey Lail and Robert Biscoe. I'm back. Raise your hands, please. Is there anybody else who wants to be heard on this? Raise the right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct and that it's in fact is perjury? Right, so what did you bring us back to look at?
We're not able to secure a historic preservationist, in person. We had talked to quite a few, but with the request given, we weren't able to secure a preservationist that would support changing slate to foam material or standing seam. But our request is a variance to change natural slate to a new material being, we have amended the material based on the last conversation we had with you all. As it seemed, the consensus was that the aesthetic was the biggest issue we were having. So we're looking at faux slate surrounding the dormer, with the dormer being standing seam. This allows the solar that we're looking for in the front of the house, with the rear of the roof remaining standing seam. It gets the clients the solar on the entire roof. It meets all the requirements that they need to allow the solar structure. As we stated the last time we were here, there are no companies that will install solar on natural slate or warranty solar structures on natural slate. The slope of the site and the shading on the backyard does not allow for solar to be ground mounted on this site. The narrowness of the site also restricts the amount of solar they can put on the yard to begin with. And with the requirement of having a historic preservationist again, we were unable to source somebody who was willing to put their name on meeting that requirement as worded in the DRB's language.
I think a key thing to point out here that with the solar array as our solar partner provided, that dormer, the standing seam would be virtually invisible under the solar. It's going to occupy like 95% of that space.
What's the majestic slate? Goes to our majestic slate.
This isn't that, yeah, a synthetic slate.
Do you have a sample, like how, have you seen it?
We've used it previously.
Yeah, and you're something that goes with
The city references this.
Yeah.
yes,
Right.
yes. EcoStar is one of the things recommended by the preservationists that the city engaged with.
We did have somebody that was willing to come. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to actually come. We were instructed by Garrett that if somebody wasn't able to come, we also couldn't provide a testimony in writing. We'd asked originally if we could submit something in writing. We were instructed that both sides need somebody here in person or present. So we're happy to abide by what Ryan recommended, which is the same thing we offered to submit. And if we are able to proceed with a condition of approval with our updated design, we're happy to move forward.
We're not bound by hearsay. So what would said person say?
It was very similar, was the feedback of something of faux slate, something similar to shingle.
Preservationist, so you contacted a preservationist, did you ask somebody about the current slate that's on there?
The
Existing.
existing slate, that's in the Slater's report. That's been submitted, that's on our package.
Remind me what he said.
It's at the end of its useful life.
And
I won't personally stand in the but
any other questions?
Can you just explain the decision that you still wanted to stick with the standing seam on the dormer section?
yeah, it's with slate installations, the mounting of that for the stanchions requires vascular penetrations. And they're really difficult to waterproof properly even with flashing. So the optimal is to install them on a standing seam roof because they just simply clamp to the top when the seams are happening. And we have virtually no exposed pass space. You know, in the long run, we have to stand behind all of this work and we have to warranty it. You know, we don't like to offer substandard installations. So we're trying to get standing seam where we're gonna have the majority of the solar installed. And except a little bit of areas down the principal roof with the gambrel, that we will have penetrations. Potentially are.
And is that your recommendation to the homeowner or their request? Just
That-
the way you framed that was a little different than the letter
It-
request.
I would say we arrived at that together with the, you know, we consult client reviews based on expertise. So that's sort of, one of their big fears is penetrations. It's ours too.
That was your. Yeah. Will the solar panel essentially sit over the entire standing seam area?
Yeah, they've got, this is theirs, proposed solar array.
Trying to understand that better. Can you explain that? I'm staring at that, trying to understand what that's showing.
Yeah, so the, would it be easier if I got it pointed?
See
Yeah,
the two panels on the side,
oh, thank you.
the two panels on the side, so the one on one side, the other on the other side, those are gonna be installed on the proposed slate. And that's what you were saying, basically, you wanted to limit the penetrations.
Yeah, right
Those
here.
are still gonna be penetrated. The
Exactly.
rest of them are gonna be installed in standing seam.
And that's sort of the compromise that we would like to propose here. You know, we want to preserve the character of the home as to the greatest extent possible. You know, a permit application for the rear of the building is not in question here, but I feel like we've gone to great lengths to try to preserve the character of the home. We're reproducing traditional cornice details and doing what we can, but also trying to give the client something that is gonna last.
So that's not showing the gambrel part of the roof.
It's not, yeah, basically there would be a hip, kind of like right where my pointer is right here. And then the other thing that they're not showing is the front wall of that dormer is actually like right here. So, you know, there'll be a little bit on the side and a little bit here, but given the pitches of that roof from the street, I think it's gonna be virtually unnoticeable from the street.
If this was some, point, say, for instance, shingles roof, asphalt shingle roof, you put those on the roof. Or you would say.
We don't like to.
Can't do that.
We don't like to, we don't advise it. But then again, we don't advise asphalt shingle roofs, period, so. But it would be a different conversation.
Audience here to speak on this application? All right, any other questions from the board? All right, that will close the hearing. Okay, moving on. Next item on our agenda, North Street, 9397. Sir, welcome back.
Thank you.
So this is a certificate of appropriateness for the demolition and reconstruction of site at 9397 North Street. Raise your right hands. Can you swear the testimony you're about to give is true and correct and with names and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this? Anyone online? Right.
Oh, Sharon Busher does have her hand up.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that then. If you would, just walk us through what you want to do. We have the plans, you're welcome to reference them there.
So this is an application for a removal and a reconstruction of the rear portion of the building located on North Street. There's technically two existing, I can use this one. This is great. Can't see how, what can you? There's two, oh, there it is. There's two of these properties here. The reconstruction of a portion of this building in the back is being done. There's two existing units on the back there that have. My client purchased the building, and when he purchased it, the two units in the back just haven't had anything done. So the initial concept was to just go in and fix them, but after we did our zoning analysis, we saw that we could add additional units to the property. So what you see here is doing a couple iterations. We went to the DAB the first time, and the DAB sort of looked at the first design and had sort of a pitched roof design. And it didn't really impress the DAB all that much. So we took another opportunity, took another stab at it. And so what our concept is to, maximize the amount of units within the space that we have. We are going to be proposing essentially, there's, I don't know if you can go to the elevation again, or it's controlled.
You want to have your elevations?
Could I bother you for?
No, no, it's my job.
I know.
Just trying to keep up, Nick.
Sorry. So we're proposing basically a whole new building at the rear portion of the site. There's some on the interior portion of the existing building. What we are proposing is there was an existing commercial entity there that was never Market. It's a small little grocery store. When my client purchased the building, he gave the guy about I think 6 months to get caught up on rent, but in the process basically couldn't get caught up. So he did try to market it to some other people. Unfortunately, the situation nowadays is the small commercial entities, I think, are very difficult to run, especially on restaurants. So the proposal is to convert the upper three, or the existing commercial on the front to 2 units. There's a unit in the front here, there's a unit in the front here. There's access to the upper, to a couple units upstairs through this door. And then there's a unit tucked underneath here. So there's, yeah, so there you go.
What would you prefer?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. So there's 2 units in the front here. There's 1 unit in the back on the main level. This, I'm sorry, it's so hard to see, but this is the existing building. And those sort of demarcate where the actual original, I think where the original buildings were sat. And then we have some parking associated on the lower level. You can go to the next, there you go. And so to access this 2 grid line marks sort of where the existing end of the building happens. And we are adding a unit back over here, another unit here, and this sort of overlaps into the existing space a little bit. It's kind of hard to explain, but essentially it sort of eats into the old building a little bit. And then we have a unit sort of tucked up here and a unit at the back over here. And then the subsequent floors above, 2 more units, 3rd and 4th level. We keep going, Mary, to the elevations.
Keep going.
Yeah, 1 more. And so the idea was to create, when you look at the building from North Street, sort of looking into the site, a lot of time was taken on how to develop this roof. It was interesting because originally, again, we had sort of a gable roof that sort of hung, it was like this hat that sort of hung on top of the building. Instead, we decided to incorporate something a little more artistically and visually pleasing. We decided to incorporate sort of a sawtooth roof. So as you look into the site a little bit, your eye tends to follow the sort of the line of the roof. So I think it's a little more visually pleasing than just sort of gable roof that hangs over. And then each of these balconies, if you go back to the floor plans, Mary. There you go. So these balconies sort of give a similar sort of impression that, they don't stick out all the way, because I think one of the things we were worried about was if you looked into the site, you'd see just a series of these balconies that sort of faced up against the elevation. So we decided to kind of give them an angle, and that way the impact looking into the site would be as impactful. So anyways, I think I'm talking too much, but staff report, I think, is pretty good. I know we owe staff some additional information regarding trash enclosures, curbing. We have to continue our stormwater. I'll do all of our stormwater and wastewater information, which we've already started with our civil. We've engaged the city on that, so.
Can you go to the, you scroll down, it's the elevation on my North Street, looking at the building.
Yeah.
This one that's,
That one, or the more specific detailed one, I'm looking at.
Orthographic.
this one.
Yeah, that one. I mean, when I first look at it, it's a nice project. It's housing, which we need, it's infill housing, which we particularly need. But when I'm looking at it, what? Seems kind of like that third story, I'm gonna call it the third story. Could use a window, could use some windows, could use some design, any reason that couldn't be provided in that? I mean, I know there are bedrooms there, but some people don't wanna be staring into the bedroom, but something seems to be a little disconnected there.
Yeah, the DAB brought that up as well. They encouraged, us looking at that elevation. One of the big concerns is anytime you see a blank wall, architects don't typically like putting blank walls up. Sometimes the result is because of code issues. One of the issues here is that wall needs to be fire protected from the lower level to the upper level here. So I kept it blank because fenestrations in this wall are going to be limited at best. So I could probably put, a very small window here and here.
Or art or something,
The other option.
just not blank.
Yeah, the DAB did discuss the idea of doing something artistic too, so.
Coloration.
Yeah.
Mural, something.
I do think, I would be remiss in saying, I think it may be difficult to see from an artistic standpoint if you're on North Street looking at the building, but, it's not.
Like, you can't actually be this far away from the building that you bring in this deep.
No, and I think I tried to illustrate that in the perspectives.
Perspective gives you a much better idea what it's gonna look like in the street. It's not gonna look that big like on the street.
You're gonna, I can appreciate the DRB and the DAB sort of bringing it up. I think windows would probably be in the best interest of the tenants, because I could probably put some windows up high that are operable. I don't know if art would be our best solution.
Something.
Yeah.
That it has to be fire rated is an important consideration, I appreciate that, it's a good explanation, but some detailing.
And this sort of gives you that, I mean, if
They're
it's, yeah, they're bedrooms and maybe tucking a couple of small windows here and here, the bathroom always could use a window as well, so something small there, but I don't know if you're on the street looking out there and go, oh. So,
You never know.
yeah.
When they're looking at the future,
Yeah.
across the street might be redeveloped to
Actually, yeah,
a four-story building, you know?
yes, you're right.
Or just the window, fixed window, like a transom or something.
Yeah, I think that's important to do.
Yeah, does the siding that you're gonna put on that, does that come in anything other than an 8 or 7 inch reveal?
Oh, 5 1/4, comes in 5 1/4, 7 1/4, and a large one, like a 10.
So you have 7.
Yeah, pretty sure. The siding manufacturer, I've had to do it a couple times, so I think the smallest I can get is like 5 1/4.
So why did you choose what you have now? The wider reveal? I'm pretty sure what I was reading at the material you have, it's a.
Really?
Those are-
LP, smart side, 6-inch exposure, I think that's what I got there, vertical siding exposure, LP smart side. Can't
Can
see.
you read from there?
There, rest.
Oh, I put the 8-inch exposure there. Yeah, it's really closer actually to a 7-inch exposure. I think in general, fortunately, it's a little bit more cost effective to do a larger exposure. Than that, I mean, I don't think I'd have any objection if the DRB wanted to see a thinner exposure.
I'm thinking it's the DR region. I always thought that small, reveal, it's nicer.
They didn't, in my recollection, they didn't have any thought about the exposure side. I
You know
think,
what, so it's siding on the original building, right? And
Oh,
that
yeah.
siding is staying,
yes,
do you know what that measures?
it's less, yeah.
Tiny.
Less, yeah, I would venture to say it's no more than 4 inches. And we're not gonna be doing anything to the existing building in terms of the siding deliberately.
To continue on with the theme of windows, I noticed that the south bathrooms don't have any windows, and if you consider that, also that south bedroom, the first 2 levels do and the third doesn't. And I know that there is a little bit of an overhang, but wondering if you would consider that. Also, given that south is where the sun is, perhaps more windows on the south than on the west, where a lot of them are.
Yeah, the south bathrooms. Maybe tough to put it in the tub area. Again, you could do a transom up above,
Or about the sink.
oh. Yeah, could have put one above the toilet, that's. I don't know, I don't really put windows in front of sinks, but. Yeah, and then, trying to implement more windows on the south end versus the west end. The family rooms, I try to.
I was thinking specifically for that bedroom,
For the bedroom on this side,
for the south bedroom.
this guy, yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see about that.
Some thoughts.
There is a window in there, right? On the south, there's 1 and 2.
On level 1 and level 2, but not on 3.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This is so.
Okay.
The only other thing, and not to nitpick
Oh, absolutely.
too much, but I guess the southeast bedroom is the only double windows on the project, and every other window is the same.
Help me out again.
The southeast bedroom, so if you go to a floor plan, would be, say, the top right bedroom. Those are the only double windows on the project.
Okay. I know here this is a no-go zone for me, because we're so close to, this is the existing building, I don't know if you can see it. And then this window here is a place I could tuck a window in there. You're saying I got 2 windows here, 2 windows here.
Do we have an elevation on that?
Yeah.
Typically the last wage.
I think I was, call it when you post facto rationale. I think one of the things I was worried about with this side is the north side of the, or the east side of the building. And the problem here is that, I have a building really close to us facing east, and as the sun comes up in the morning, especially early morning sun, I don't get a lot of light. So I think specifically there, I was trying to make sure whatever light can get into those bedrooms, double up. The west side ones, I think you're right, you're gonna get a lot of sun exposure on the west side. Maybe not towards the end of the day, because there's just other buildings in the way.
But I want to stress, I think it's a great project. Colors, I think the banding, I think the roof, great. I think that was great. So you can.
One clarification, so in the staff report, it talks about that there will be a future design with the number of bedrooms fully specified and the bike parking was specified. Looks like from the blueprints, the number of bedrooms is currently specified, but the bike parking is not. Is there a vision for the long-term bike parking of where that might be and?
So Mary, we do the landscaping plan. So there's some portion of the lot here that we kept open. There's an existing barn here that we will be removing. And I think here, for exterior bike parking, something covered. Bike parking. On the interior here, I think what we're gonna do is, we go to the first floor plan there. That one, sorry, the one back, that one. One back. Back, yeah. Yep, no, this is perfect. We have sort of a lobby space in here where I was thinking maybe of tucking some some hanging ball, bike parking here. And then the other option was for us to consider, this is a pretty large mechanical room for this building. And we are considering, instead of making this a mechanical room for the building, this whole lower level, this whole basement level, recently we're probably going to be turning this existing basement into the mechanical room. In this area, we're going to convert to additional bike parking.
While we're on this plan set, can you tell me just a little bit about accessibility? It's those 3 units or the accessible units?
Yes, sir. Yeah. There's no elevator in the building or anything to that level. So these, specifically this one, would the one towards the rear would meet the accessibility requirement.
So only that one.
I think, yeah.
That meets the requirements.
Yeah.
Would it be challenging to make those front 2 accessible? Is that because of the vestibule or?
Well, I think I'd have to look at, if you park on site and, you enter here, you technically go into a public right of way and then come into the vestibule. So I don't think it's impossible. Probably could be made accessible to deconstructing most of it. So not too far.
Michael, I know you haven't got your city stormwater approval yet, but I see you're increasing impervious by about 10%. Do you envision having a problem getting the city approval?
Now that you've mentioned it. No, this is the 3rd project I've done recently with the city. I think we have in other projects we've done on-site storage to sort of meet the code, right? I think that's what we're sort of anticipating here as well. We have started our conversation with the stormwater administrator at this point.
I know it's talking about a civil plan, so do you have a civil engineer involved?
Yeah.
And my last question was I saw that grassy area behind could be a potential area where you could get some water to infiltrate, but.
Yeah.
And you said there's a garage or barn.
There is an existing barn. There is.
And is it pretty compacted?
Yeah. The site is a very tight infill site, so I anticipate with my civil engineers really.
Okay.
We have 2 hands up.
Okay, who do we have up?
Sharon Busher and Pat Trees.
Okay, I'm gonna swear you both in. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter under consideration is true and correct and pains and penalties of perjury? I'll assume that's an I do. Sharon, go ahead.
I do.
Yep, go ahead, Sharon.
I do.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I wanted to first off say that I really value the questions that were asked by the board about natural light and accessibility. So I know that's your job, but I really value you asking those questions. So just wanted to get that stated. I support this project. The back structure, the tearing down of the old structure and replacing it with these new units is fine to me. I'm more focused on the original structure that faces North Street. And it was original use, which was, so this was one of these mixed uses where you had people living and working in the same place. It was a storefront. And so it faced the building of the street and attracted people, brought them in to the structure. And the storefront windows are not going to be retained, and they are going to be replaced. And I do appreciate the applicant for working through this and doing it as tastefully as I guess could be done. I looked to Article 3, Part 4 about historic windows, and but my question still remains that there's a loss here, and I wondered if I know this is not your purview, but I wasn't quite sure if a real attempt was made to preserve that use and in essence preserve those large windows, as opposed to modifying this historic structure with these newer windows. So each large window will be replaced, as you know, by 3 panels, 3 separate windows. And it's much better than what I thought originally was going to happen. So I'm not satisfied, but I have to accept what is about to be. But I really would like the city to really put value in historic structures and their uses, and try to encourage an applicant to find people to continue that use as they move forward. There's going to be, this is a big investment, and I'm sure that there'll be some profit gained by this investment. And so I would really like to try to continue the history of our city as we move forward and become more dense and provide housing, very much needed housing. So those are my comments. I would like the board to just hear one other statement. I had raised my hand for the 365 South Williams Avenue. I didn't raise it at the beginning. I thought you were going to ask at the end, so I raised it at the very end. And I don't have any questions for the applicant, but I would like to make a statement and wondered if that would be allowed after you're done with this item. And it's in a statement that I would really like the board to hear before you consider action. Thank you.
Yeah. Sharon, can I ask, since I think I should, where do you live in relation to the first application?
Which one? 365 South Williams?
Yeah.
South Willard, rather. I don't live near there. I live up near the hospital.
The 1835 staff report. Is that the one you had your hand up? The fence one?
No, the slate roof.
Okay, just, yep. Okay.
And so the reason I'm mentioning this is I have followed most of these projects through the DAB to your board, and I value our history and just wanted to make a statement about that. But if it's inappropriate, I'm just asking, I'm requesting, and I respect whatever you decide. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is that what you have on Mr. Alvanos's project? Okay.
Did you say something to me?
No. Are you done on the Alvanos project? Did you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Then Mr. Trees,
Well, I don't know how you got that, but I'm Patrick Orr.
Okay,
I own the property on 133 North Champlain Street. And so we share a property line in the on the south side of that. If you go to, I think you have a picture of the back barn, as you call it.
sure.
First of all, I welcome this project. I think it's desperately needed. My concern is with the demolishing of that structure in the back. It's more like a 3-car old garage. It will expose the south side of my property to access. A nice picture of the sky. No, there we go. So if you see that gray structure with the slate roof, that is my property. It's a carriage barn. And my property, the south side of my property basically ends at the back of that structure.
And so you don't currently have an existing fence or any other like barrier for entering, is that?
Between the carriage barn and the brown building, I have a couple of fences that just close off that area, so I don't get access to my property. They're gates, really, not really fences. They're 2 gates. But removal of that entire building will open up my entire backyard, basically, to access. So I'm just curious, the final result, what is going in that space once that is demolished?
Sounds like we need a fence.
Well, yeah,
Is that all the way in the back, like parking?
yeah,
Yeah, I see what he's saying. Yeah,
It's right on that green space there.
yeah, I understand. Basically,
Yeah.
removal of the barn ends up opening his whole backyard wide open, so.
right. And
Yeah.
I put up the gates just because people were using it as a shortcut from North Street, sometimes with nefarious reasons to evade our uniformed friends. So I've just got a security concern there.
Well, you be amenable to any fence or anything along that boundary?
Totally, yeah, I have no objection to adding a footnote saying that we
You know where
replace.
that is on here?
Yes, yeah, I mean, I'm relatively certain, I know Mr. Trees or this area here needs a fence being replaced essentially to protect his yard from people just translating or just going.
Using it as a,
Yeah, I'd be happy to add a note or put it, mark it out,
and maybe we should get together and talk about that tree that abuts my carriage barn and hangs over your parking place.
Yeah, we can.
It's about ready to fall either on a tenant's car or my carriage barn.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you.
All right, great. Thank you.
You got it.
Appreciate your time and good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Right, thank you all very much.
We do have another person with their hand up.
Okay, who's that?
Connie Lale, she was not sworn in.
I think she's for an earlier project.
Hands up now.
Ms. Lyle, were you here for an earlier project?
Yes, I'm here about the property at 365 South Winooski. And I know that our representative has come and gone, unfortunately. Well, sorry,
Pause.
I'm sorry.
Pause for a second. We wrapped up that item. You're not here to talk about 9397 North Street, correct?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna close the public hearing on 9397 North Street. Ms. Lael, did I say that right?
Yes, you did, doctor. Yes.
Doctor,
Mhm.
your application was heard and it was presented by Lewis Creek Builders, I think, before you joined us. Is that
Yes,
correct?
unfortunately, I was delayed getting to this meeting tonight, even virtually. But I understood that somebody had some comment about my application, and I just wanted to be sure I was able to respond to whatever those comments were.
Could reopen it or would not if the board doesn't think it needs additional testimony on the matter to decide.
Is it improper to reopen it without the applicant here?
The applicant is here, yeah.
Probably should be to let
Sure,
public say what they're gonna say.
Fair enough.
So,
Given some of the discrepancies in virtual attendance, let's have Ms. Busher, if you'd like to share your comment. And Ms. Lael, you obviously would have an opportunity to respond to it. This is 365 South Winooski Avenue.
Sharon.
Can I speak? Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize you hadn't muted me. Sorry. Yes, thank you so much. As I stated, I had followed this from the DAB to your agenda, and my statement is more generic, but certainly specific to this. Because this is the request for a removal of a slate roof on a historic structure, I understand that the city does not regulate, solar energy or other types of energy enhancements or environmentally sound evolution of energy sources, but the city does have jurisdiction over historic structures. And I am concerned that if indeed there is a, if indeed this request to remove the slate roof to accommodate solar array on the roof occurs, I am very concerned that all other slate roofs in Burlington on historic structures will now be in jeopardy, because I don't think you can really differentiate one historic structure from another and the rationale to grant versus deny. So I'm hoping that the board really looks at the significance of this action. I just want to say that I value solar energy. I happen to live in a house that is so shaded I can't do it. I have a friend who wanted it, and the way her roof was designed, it doesn't accommodate, it doesn't allow for a solar array on her roof. And I feel that historic structures with slate roofs fall in that same category of just that is not an option, maybe on the land, but not on the roof. And so I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you for allowing me to do that.
Okay. Ms. Lael, doctor, would you like to respond?
Well, I'm glad Ms. Bushner appreciates the value of the solar energy that we're attempting to install on the roof. And I think just because we would install solar energy, as she mentioned, there are many homes that are of a historic nature in Burlington where it's impossible to install solar. So just by dint of allowing one historic property to have the solar installed on top of metal, which is a formidable, resilient material that will last much longer than anything else that's available. yeah, one thing does not follow another. First of all, the very expense of the solar that we're going to put on the roof is quite high. And I don't anticipate, I don't see a lot of people coming and saying, in order to get rid of my slate, I'm going to install solar. It's just not going to happen. It's been a journey for us in an attempt to, respect the historic nature of the house, keep the front as absolutely identical to what it is now. It will remain that way. We have made no changes to the front of the house whatsoever, except this request. And we're even willing, although we were even willing to mix the materials if that's what it comes down to. But we still are very much interested in what the state of Vermont has allowed us to do, which is to put the solar on the roof. I just look down the road at the things that I'm reading about what's going on in Canada, that they are threatening to remove, they won't sell hydroelectric power to the United States if some threatened tariffs actually happened, and how that would impact Burlington's ability to provide sufficient power to the city. So I think the solar is more important than ever, something that we were very committed to doing before all of this became a problem or a possibility. But at the same time, I hope everybody's clear that we intend to keep the house looking as historic as possible without the slate roof.
Okay. Thank you, we appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I'll reclose the public hearing. And so that wraps up the public hearings we have. 15 minutes of deliberative. We do have the meeting agenda for 2025. Should just take a look at that. Side on that. Session. So with that, there's nothing else on the agenda. I'll close the meeting for this evening.
That we deny the appeal and uphold the staff approval or whatever.
The 1835 North Ave.
1835 North Ave.
We have a second? Okay. A second? Discussion? All those in favor? Oh. Then you oppose? Yes. Oh, sorry. I thought you had your hand up. We have one in favor, one opposed. Leo. All right.
Recording stop.
For 467. I move at the application. Well, it's actually interesting. Hold on a second. Well, they're saying they want a variance to replace the existing slate standing seam roof to accommodate solar installation as the original application. Yeah. Because as we're not approving that. That's what the application is for. And it says to accommodate solar installation. Did they apply for the solar installation too, Gary?
Don't they not have
We
to?
don't regulate.
You don't regulate, right?
Yeah, I guess, so are you saying the process should be that they file a variance to replace the roof with standing seam? Because we asked them to come back.
Right.
And say explore additional materials.
Right,
So
so-
would you have expected them to then file a new variance?
Or at least admit,
They did.
All we got was.
yeah, so all right, let me try this. On ZP 24467, we approve the variance request to replace the slate roof. But instead of a standing seam metal roof, we approve the variance to replace the slate roof with a eco slate material, front and back, to accommodate a solar installation.
So I guess if I were to propose an amendment to allow standing seam in here.
The second.
So he'll second that. And I think my view is in order to preserve the historic character and harmonize two competing interests, that of 4413 and that of the city's right to regulate historic properties, I think having equal slate front and back is the best way to accomplish this.
I think we should vote on this one.
Okay.
It's my comment, though.
I guess Robert's rules, though, I would propose, if I wanted to propose an amendment, I could do so, if not the majority agreed.
That's
Then
right.
that amendment would be voted down, and then we would vote on the original.
We're gonna play it strictly short. So on the amendment,
I'll propose an amendment to allow standing seam in the rear of the building.
yes. Okay, all those in favor of the amendment?
Or seconded,
Second,
is it amendment?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Regardless, so amendment seconded, all those in favor of the amendment? It's 3, it's not a majority. All those in favor of the original motion? That is a majority. So the original motion.
Record progress.
Approve the application CP 24-253, number 397 North Street, with the addition of fence as requested by the abutting landowner and as agreed by.
For discussion. We understand that he's got to come back with like,
That's right.
That's in there.
And he has to, we adopt staff's findings and recommendations, including their request for.
I just want to make sure, we had a discussion about a lot of other stuff. Just want to
We
make sure
decided we
it's
don't care about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question.
I don't think we re-review that, right? That coming back with the bike parking would just be.
No, that's, it's in back. Requirements.
Thing with the road and refreshing the floor area that they are.
I think the question that we talked about a fair amount was the one that we wanted north elevation of the 3rd floor.
If it's fire rated, I don't want to get into it too much. I understand the explanation of that. Fire rated. We want to put the up grade, but I'm not gonna take that.
Yeah, I also think the street elevation.
Street elevation.
Seems pretty reasonable, like it's like it's good, and that area is so dense, it's not back up.
And if we have any sense of cool culture, it's on the whole.
Or something terrible, like, so something goes up.
Oh, we better, we better.
I thought there's beautiful street art all over. There is. Yeah.
I don't love the loss of the commercial space.
I don't either.
I don't know what to do about that.
But the problem is we need housing, so
We need a lot of housing.
Trading.
And we don't need commercial, like, a lot of those businesses are struggling.
I do
That's
agree
not an
with,
ideal location for this.
I do agree with Sharon, that I think there are many small businesses along there, and I do think it would be great. I don't think we can require it, but
No.
ideally, in an ideal world, I think it would be one. Yeah.
Yeah,
There are a lot of buildings on the street that have been.
Yeah.
Different street than it.
Used to be, my friends live right on the corner of South Quad Street.
it also
It's in
ideally,
the volley market.
right, you have more population and density and commercial spaces become more viable, but.
Are we still in the motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
So are we at the point of not requiring and else based on that?
What about the fence,
I didn't require it.
Fence is required.
Well, the city's staff report notes, correction of FAR, correction of bike parking, depiction of curb stops, and dumpster enclosure, roofing material, mailboxes, mechanical equipment locations to be provided prior to release. I thought covered it. Right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Nay? Done. Okay.
Recording stopped.
Schedule? Okay.